Today, we have an exciting lineup for you today, with it being International Women's History Month. We have two dynamic sisters on here today that are going to discuss some of the aspects of women in business. I'm just happy to be here with you all again tonight, and I hope that you enjoy the show. This is your educational platform, that Spiritual Injection. We're happy to have you.
Thank you, Sister Tara. And with regards to, I think, a great principle to extract from last week from our dialogue over the last few weeks of our series on aviation. And as Sister Tara said, she doesn't want to be she hasn't come out there thinking she wants to drop whatever she's doing right now to become a pilot, but she's definitely extracted principles which are universal. And one of those principles that I think it would be great to raise as we're going into this week's program was, what will you do with the information and the knowledge that you are provided with? What will you do? Will you hoard it? Will you put it on a bookshelf? Will you frame it, put it on the wall and be proud because you know that? Or will you expound upon it? Will you create something that is the fruit of your newly gained knowledge? And here we challenge you to create something and do something with it that you can look at, touch, hold, and say, this is the fruit of my newly found and newly gained knowledge. You want to come in on that, Sister Tara?
Yes, you know I do. So another thing, do not hoard the information and knowledge. If you see that you're getting something out of this, you need to share. You need to invite people. Don't keep it to yourself. You have to share. When you get knowledge, new knowledge, you're supposed to share it, not hoard it. When you said hoard, that made me think of that. But yes, thank you. Thank you, Sister Savina. Make sure that you are doing something with the knowledge that you are gaining. Don't just sit on it. You have to take action. Take action.
Thank you. So without further delay, let's see if everyone's awake, Sister Tara. Let's greet everyone and see if everyone's awake and alert on the line, if they got their notepads, so they can take, copious notes. Good evening, Spiritual Injection. Let's hear you.
Good evening. Good evening.
I think I heard two people.
No, go again. Go again, sister.
Good evening.
Okay, all right, we're getting there. Okay, so we're going to introduce our host this evening, reintroduce others. Our host, Abdul Hakim, please give him the same, if that's a better greeting that you gave us. Get yourself in the right space, zone, and welcome my brother, Abdul Hakim. Welcome to the platform, brother.
And warm welcome to you, and happy Women's Day, week, month, year, lifetime, okay?
You know you live by that, so it's not a gimmick to take.
Every woman should be blessed to be a woman for their lifetime, as opposed to just for a month.
Yes.
So anyway, but we'll take the month until we can build it up. Gotta start somewhere, right?
Right.
So warm welcome to everybody. And as my co-host has mentioned previously, we intend to have a really blockbuster evening. We have two of our beautiful sisters joining us from Detroit, Michigan, and which, I don't mean Detroit, Brixton, or Detroit, Denmark, or Detroit, I mean, Detroit, United States of America, okay? And these are two prolific business women who have really, done things in business that others could only dream of and or envisage in their mind. And when I say that, I don't just mean in regards to the earning of finances. I mean going into places and extracting what they went into the places for and maintaining their integrity as beautiful Black women. So, and that says a lot, right? Because we have so many successful members of our community, but the compromises they have had to make to achieve whatever status they were given really is not worth what they achieved. So it gives us pleasure to introduce those who come onto our platform as those who are, who have maintained integrity. So Sister Letitia Muhammad and Sister Joi Taylor, please share with us, who you are and what you have done and why you're on Spiritual Injection Team. I'll start with Sister Letitia, who is a great sister. I've been privileged and blessed and honored to know her for a protracted period of time. Welcome, Sister Letitia, to the Spiritual Injection. Everybody take your devices off mute and give her a rapturous reception here, and welcome to the Spiritual Injection. Welcome.
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 Welcome to SI.
So there's some people that I recognize here because I was blessed to come to London a few years ago with my son. I dragged him on a multi-city European tour. And when I say dragged, I literally dragged him all around. And there, I recognize some of the people here. So thank you so much for having me. This is another part of my family because I've always just felt so welcome and I've always been so well taken care of by some of the members that are here and in our audience. And so it's just a pleasure to see you. And I thank you for having me here today. My name again is Letitia Muhammad. I am in the city of just outside of Detroit, Michigan, and I've lived here for a good portion of my life. I grew up in Michigan, in Detroit. Detroit is probably one of the least racially diverse cities in America, meaning the Blacks with the Blacks and the whites with the whites. And so as I graduated from high school, I went to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, which was the exact opposite. It was a mix of cultures and a mix of dealing with so many different people from so many different areas. And I just was able to expand my view. And when I was done with my college courses, I knew that I did not necessarily want to work exclusively in the corporate world. I wanted to have a business of some sort for myself. But there was just not a lot of resources for how to get started as a young person and remain successful. And so that was a challenge for me, is finding a way to get to that entrepreneurial base or some sort of business of my own to be able to be free of working forever. That's the ultimate goal, is freedom. And I figured, well, real estate, I like real estate a little bit, so I might as well go on ahead and learn how to buy real estate. And I found out very quickly, it takes a lot of money, lots and lots to be able to buy it. And so I said, well, look, if I'm going to own an apartment building or several buildings, I should learn how to finance them. And the very next day, I looked in the newspaper. This is how long ago that was. I looked in the newspaper and there was an advertisement for a commercial loan officer. And so I thought, oh yeah, that'll work. I just got out of school. The salary was beautiful. And it gave me a chance to learn how to finance this building or these properties that I wanted to own. The problem was it was a sales job and I was terrible at sales. And when I say terrible, what I mean is my manager sat me down at one point and said, listen, by the end of the week, you're either going to make some sales or we're going to fire you. So you choose which one you want. That was the decision given to me. And so I pretty quickly learned how to sell. I studied a guy named Tom Hopkins. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. He was one of the preeminent salespeople, and I studied a lot of different sales strategies and just the basics of how to find somebody that's looking for what you're selling, how to qualify them, how to get them under contract, overcome objections, and get them to the sale, to the closing. And so that was my foray into having to learn a skill quickly and having to pivot very quickly and have some success out of that. And I went on to become like top salesperson. Then I went on to become like the VP of that department. And it just taught me a lot that you don't have to have everything that you need all at once. You really just need to have a goal and have the unquenchable fire to get to where you want to get to. It doesn't matter what you have to learn, what habits you have to adopt. You just know where you want to go, and what's going to get me there is what you focus on. And so I did that job until that company unfortunately shut down. So now I'm without a job, but I've got this skill in commercial finance. And so I started training and teaching other people how to deal with commercial loans, how to write commercial loans, qualify commercial people. And I ended up training at one of the largest mortgage lenders in the country, which is Quicken Loans. If you ever heard of the Cleveland Cavaliers, the owner of the Cavaliers owns Quicken. And so they gave me a job, and my interview with them was in front of the owner of the company. That's how small it was back in that day. And so I ended up going from that position as a trainer to leading the training team to having a huge staff. And what I learned from that experience is that when you're in the corporate world, you get a volume discount. They get a volume discount on your time. So it's like working for the Marines. We'd work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. If you got a email in the middle of the night, you were expected to answer really in the middle of the night, but if not, very first thing the next day. And I said, look, if I work any harder, I'm not going to make that much more. So why don't I just go and work for myself? Because if I'm going to do 40, 50, 60 hours, I'd rather do it for myself and get the majority of my income. And so that's how I ended up getting licensed as a real estate agent. I had an investor base from my previous jobs. I could help them get properties, and this was right before the financial crisis. And so I started helping them get real estate investment properties. And then 2008, the financial crash hits. And I went from selling maybe 2 or 3 properties a month to 20 to 30 properties a month to 200 or 300 a year. Because when the market goes down, investors buy more because they know that the market is typically going to come up. And so that taught me how to crunch an education and experience into a really, really short period of time. Because I went from doing very few transactions to hundreds of transactions, and you crunch your learning curve. You truncate the learning curve severely when you've got to like do over and over and over and over again, houses and properties and apartment buildings and all those things. And so from that, I created my own business just a few years ago, 2017. And anything that doesn't fall in my realtor bag, my real estate bag, it goes into my business bag, where I can do larger deals. I can do different kinds of portfolio sales, apartment sales. I've sold 4 houses in a package. I've sold 50 houses in a package. And that taught me that, listen, everything you've been doing up to this point is preparing you for what you're going to end up doing in the next stage. And so that's where I am today. And it's wonderful. I work again for myself. I manage my own schedule, which is terrifying and also ultimately liberating. So you got to have nerves of steel to be able to do this consistently for a long period of time, because there's going to be ups and downs. Just all the time you're going through these vicissitudes of, you got a ton of money and you're almost broke, and then you get a ton of money and then you almost are broke. And so you need to be able to find that happy medium as you're going through these ups and downs with owning your own business. And so I've got a few tips for that, but we can get to that later.
I look forward to it. And we want to also discuss, after we bring in Sister Joy, balance. How do you, strike a happy medium? So we'll get to that. And that's my first question to you after we introduce Sister Joy X Taylor. Warm welcome, Joy. Warm welcome.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me as well. Peace and blessings to you all. I am Sister Joy X Taylor. I am also from the outskirts of Detroit, from a small place called Ypsilanti, Michigan. And I have a great real estate business. I grew up in Ypsilanti with the mindset of a father, that entrepreneurship was always the way to go. So once he put that in our heads, I knew that, okay, one day, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. I started out, though, first at Ford Motor Company, working on the line, building my way up, going into the UAW. It was nice. It was great, good money, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me because in my mindset, my father, who had followed Malcolm X, actually, it was either do for self or suffer the consequences. We know that. So so that's where he was. And he was kind of like hard on each and every one of us. So my brother, I was blessed with a brother that was 19 years old, that my father said, hey, I'm going to help you start your business. And he started a record store. So I'm like 5 years younger than him. I'm in there, I'm helping him push everything. It's exciting. Then going back to Ford Motor Company, which was horrible. During that process, I actually started college and I have a degree in interior design. So that's where the knack for houses come in at. Everything that has to do with houses is what I love. From interior design and bridging interior design, money that I was making, I decided that I wanted to start flipping properties. So I went into real estate as an investor very early on in my life, 19 years old, something like that, 20 years old.
Right.
Purchasing properties, flipping the properties, also holding some properties. 2008 comes, the crash comes, and I'm kind of like sitting there like, okay, what do I do next? So all of the money that was being invested in real estate, I'm like, hey, I need to get my real estate license so that I can save some money. I had some properties, they were paid for. I need to save some money, not pay somebody else to help me get these properties. That's where the real estate license came in at. And I started out at Keller Williams with my business as a brokerage. During that time, it was like hit and miss with real estate because I wasn't a real estate investor. I was a real estate investor, but I wasn't a real estate agent for investors at the time. I was brand new. So I had to figure out something else to do. And during that time of finding out something else to do, I started a jewelry company. So I actually own two companies, real estate company and a jewelry company. As the time started to progress, I switched brokerages, switched over from Keller Williams to a company called eXp Realty. Once I got over to eXp Realty, I decided to build a team. And now I have a team of 28 real estate agents that I teach and train every single day and growing, by the way. And my handbag business, again, my jewelry business has now turned into a handbag business that I'm also running. So that's my background. That's who I am. And thank you for having me and thank you for listening.
Oh, thank you. Like handbags, well, we need some attaching cases because we're trying to remain as brothers over here. So we need you to, do you do man bags?
Yes, actually, I do. I have duffel bags, backpacks, all of the above.
Okay, so you're keeping us strong, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I'm impressed with with everything you're saying with the various businesses and whatnot. I want to focus on property for a minute because I'm similar to you. Like I bought my first property when I was in around 18, 19, around that sort of place. And I wasn't motivated by making any money or anything like that. I just needed to get out of my parents' house, right? Like it was just that time, right? So, my father, he just was saying, young man, you got to abide by my rules or keep it moving. So, you know, I decided I don't like your rules anymore. You know, I've done my sentence. I'm out of here. So that was my motivation. And I didn't want to live where some of my friends lived in social housing. I wasn't going to live there. So I bought a place just to escape, you know, Codex or the prison. So with that, I know it takes a lot of courage to buy a property, right? Particularly at that kind of age, because you automatically inherit a phone bill. And back in those days, there was no cell phone. I'm showing my age a little, but back in those days, there was no cell phone. So you had to have a domestic line, and you had to have a gas bill in your name, electric bill in your name, council taxes in your name, and water rates in your name. So for someone to absorb all of that, and you just spoken about this as if like, boom, you know, this is what we do, one bit, blah, 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 blah. And there are others who are pretty much frozen into stillness at the thought of what you just explained, and maintained a smile on both of your faces. Because there are some who mention business and their countenance falls, like the world's about to cave in. So how do you advise, or how did you segue into business and do it in an optimistic way? You entered in optimistic without thinking that it was something that was going to, you know, just overwhelm you, and should I, shouldn't I? Talk to those of us in the audience who are desirous of getting involved, but it just seems so overwhelming.
You know, you have to go with your principles. You do need to know your values, and you need to know your strengths. So for me, I valued freedom over security. So
Right.
I would work, even if I had to work the same hours I was working at the corporate position, I would work that if I knew I could have freedom. But I was very, very clear that my number one value, my number one principle was freedom. And then everything else under that, enjoyment, security. But no matter what, I could not wrap my mind around the concept that someone else was going to be telling me what to do with my time. That if I didn't want to go, you know, to lunch, or if I did want to go to lunch, or if I, you know, I want to leave for the day, it bothered me that I did not have the freedom to do that. But you do need to know yourself and know, okay, exactly what do I value the most, and then work your way from there.
So that was the deal breaker for you, freedom.
Freedom, just the freedom. If I didn't feel like working, you know, I'd still have to go to work. It was a terrible joke among my friends when I was very young, because they said, oh, look, it's been about 1.5 years. You're still at the same job. I'm like, it's going to be cutting any day now. So, you know, so I searched and searched and searched until I found that you do need to have low stakes, though, because you can't be in a tremendous amount of debt and exploring those kinds of things. So if you can shore up some freedom from your debt, from your obligations, it does relieve your mind a bit to be able to look and see, okay, well, what do I want to try? What do I want to explore or learn? And what can I invest time-wise to do that?
Okay, fantastic. So Sister Joy, how did you segue into with such a happy countenance?
I think for me, it's more so achieving goals. I love to achieve goals. And for me, it was, okay, he said that we should be entrepreneurs. I seen my brother do it, so I need to do it as well. And I need to do it now.
Right.
Yes, I'm definitely with Sister Letitia about freeing up time. But I also, to add to that, I think having the time that I had to give someone else versus the time that I can put in my own business, because I think that for me, I have to spend more time in my own business than I do for them.
Yeah.
Because when you have your own business, it's like your mind won't turn off because it's always another level, scaling your business, taking it to a whole nother level. And you're consistently thinking about, what do I do? How do I move? How do I make things better? How do I come up with another product? What do I teach my agents, for instance, to keep continuing to scale? So for me, it was more so of achievement. I knew that there was a goal that needed to be achieved, and I wanted to get it done, and I wanted to be the best at it.
And you know, and that's a good point, because entrepreneurship is not for everybody. So if you are an employee and you do well at being an employee, get yourself in the absolute maximum job that's going to pay you the most. If you're better at being a business owner, some people, they don't want to work for other people. They just want to own their own business. Some people, they're that hybrid, that self-employed. I did that for a long time. So you should look at that. You know, there's a cash flow quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. You're an employee, self-employed person, business owner, or investor. Where you find your most comfortable and most proficient area, do that. And as long as you can do that and you do it to the maximum, you can work your way to having that freedom. You can invest your way, build up your passive income. It takes over your expenses. That's it. You're retired. So you do need to be able to look and see, okay, which one on that cash flow quadrant, employee, self-employed, business owner, or investor, which one are you and which one do you do the best?
So in regards then to that or those principles, one of the things I hear a lot from young people is, even though I know it was tough to buy my first place, right? And from there, I went on and bought other places and leased them, and the rest is history. Young people today say, well, it was easier in your time. You know, property was X amount back then. Look at the price of it today. What would you say to young people who say it's more difficult now than it was 20 years ago, 15 years ago plus? What would you say to them?
I disagree. I think now it's much easier because you have so many different outlets. You have YouTube, you have social media, you have people who have done it in front of you, before you, that you can go to. So you have so many different outlets to go to learn. And it just really takes confidence. That's one. It takes the self-confidence to say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to study. You have to make sure that you study, and then I'm going to move forward. Back then, we didn't have social media. We didn't have a lot of people that looked like us that was actually doing real estate or, you know, flipping properties, purchasing properties. So for me, I think that it's the opposite, that right now, younger people don't step in front of don't get in your own way. Don't stay in your own way. Move out, find someone else that has done it before, whether it be, like I said, on social media platform or YouTube, study, and then just do it.
Okay, fantastic. So Letitia, tell me, what are then some of the largest or the biggest stumbling blocks? You know, what can prevent an ambitious woman from achieving her ambitions? What's number one?
So this is going to sound strange, but it's comparison. It's comparison. Women, for some reason, are taught to compete just from a very early age. And so having the self-possessed knowledge, like self-knowledge, I know what my skills are, I know what my talents are, I know what my goals are, I know what my purpose is, and it is unique. There is no one else on the planet like you. There is no one with your sensibilities, your thought processes, what you love and what you don't love. You've got similarities, but you are still one unique individual. And so you do have to connect with that part of yourself, the higher part of yourself, where you say, okay, listen, I see this person over here on social media, right? And they're killing it on social media, right? And so they look like they're just so successful. I'm going to do what they do. And that may or may not get you the same success, because that may not be what's right for you. And outside of just trying to level up or equal up to someone else just for the ego gratification, put that down and look at, what do I love? What am I willing to do on a daily basis? What do I have of value to give? How can I increase what I have of value to give? And then decide, once you've taken self-inventory, because the one thing I've learned is everybody that says that they're so successful on social media, when you start peeling back the layers, you know that's not true, right? They're barely holding on. And the other part of it is, you can do so much better in what suits you, because that's where your passion is. And you obsess over it, you think about it all day, you bring an enthusiasm to it and a life to it that someone else who's just doing it because it looks like it's a good thing to do, they don't have that part that reaches out and touches other people. There's a couple things that I would do for absolutely free. Like, I would stand on the side of a freeway and like go, we'll train for food. Like, I will train people for, $0, because it just makes me extremely happy. I will talk to investors all day and night and answer the questions all day and night, because I could just do it forever. And so I think one of the most important things is you've got to stop looking outside, start doing some digging internally. And what you'll find there is that you do something, you provide a service, you provide a product that is so unique and is so valuable to people that they will throw money at you to be able to get that done or get what you have to give. So that's one thing. I do want to address the question about the young people.
Sure.
When you look at old home advertisements in America, you could buy a property, full house, for $36,000 in 1960 something, right? Like a whole house, you could buy that brand new. So in a sense, there were some easier aspects back in the day, but they don't have what we have right now, which is a tremendous amount of lending and financing, like so much financing, you barely have to move, private and public. They don't have social media. We used to have to advertise for tenants or put a sign out. They don't have to do anything. They don't really even have to leave the house if they don't. You can run a whole virtual business if you like. So there's always going to be hard and not hard. It's going to be what you focus on and what you allow to stop you. So if you can talk yourself through the things that are hard, or you can talk yourself through even failure, because you will fail. Like, failure is coming. So you might as well just fail a lot and really fail well and get it all out of the way, so that you can get proficient at doing what you do and, and having some success at it.
Very good. So Sister Joy, tell me, what are some of the stumbling blocks that would just really put somebody off today? Like, if you're faced with the dilemmas of, the average female, okay, who is just trying to make it through the day, week, month, year, and she's on this call at the moment, she's inspired, she's loving it. How does she overcome some of the daily challenges that you as Black women have to deal with on a regular and consistent basis?
Well, one is the battle that you have with yourself. So the battle that you have with yourself is the first battle that, that will come about. Can I do it? I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough.
Tell me though, with those points that you're making, not strong enough, not wise enough, and all the rest of it, where do these questions come up from? Someone outside the self, or is that voices from within?
No, sometimes it's from within. It's from within, because as Black women, we have a tough time daily sometimes. We juggle so much. we're
Yeah.
moms, we're wives, we're students. You know, we're helping our family out. We juggle so much that sometimes when it's the change in life, you know, you want to change, you want to do something better for yourself, but you have to then convince yourself that I can do this. Sometimes it's even struggle with getting out of the bed for some women. But you have to first and foremost pray about it, look at yourself in the mirror and say definitely that I'm going to do this. I'm going to strive to do this.
Question for you, another question.
Yeah.
How does a woman navigate being in a relationship with a man who's not that ambitious, right? Regular dude, you know, strong, goes to the gym regular, has has the look of a god, of a king, but he's not ambitious, okay? But your sister, super ambitious. How do you mitigate not being dulled down by an unambitious man? Or how do you mitigate not killing his, you know, his fragile ego by out earning, out envisaging, and out goal setting? How do you balance that? Or is it even possible?
I said, no, it's not possible.
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
It's so balance. It's, to me, balance is a misnomer.
It's a
It's
misnomer.
not.
Okay.
Every single thing is never going to be 100% balanced. Even my diet, you know, I might be great in this section, but I'm terrible on the sweets, or, you know, I don't eat carbs, but then I got this coffee habit. So there's always going to be levels, right?
Right.
And what I've learned over the years, and please feel free, I'm watching the chat. So if you disagree with me in the chat, it's okay. And we do see the questions that are coming up too. I want to be able to get to those questions. But I don't think that complete 100% perfect balance is always achievable. But if you're having financial difficulties, then you need to increase the activity to be able to balance that part out. If you're having challenges with your family, you might need to increase either counseling or, you know, helping to communicate to be able to balance that part out. So always being able to look and see, okay, well, which part is technically out of balance? And then what does that need? And then you're looking at your overall life. Before you choose a mate, before you fall in love, right, with the you know, the gym body and the beautiful face, right, and the velvety voice, you do have to look at their values, you know, and we have to be able to objectively look at and critically analyze, like, okay, I know I'm this way. Am I going to be okay with someone who doesn't match my values? And if you give it time, you'll be able to see, yes, he might not necessarily be as ambitious, but look at how he provides for our family and provides a good, safe foundation for us. Or look at how he goes and fixes all those things that I never fix. Because if you look at my car right now, you'll be able to see that clearly, right? The blinking lights, right? Or the shelf falling down. You know, there's going to be a level of balance in a few different areas. And so
providing the man can fix your indicators and put up a shelf is good. Is that what you're telling me?
what
Like,
about emotional
hold
support?
on a minute, because like, hold on, because I've got big real estate sister on the phone here, right? big real estate sister on the call. Now you're trying to tell me, like, you're envisaging, you know, as you're going to work, as you're rolling, or as you're doing whatever you're doing, you're thinking about buying that building with
Yes.
100 apartments in it, refurbishing it, putting it back to market, turning over maybe, I don't know, 2 million, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
Dude just wants to go to the gym. Dude is interested in 2 plates on either side. That is an accomplishment, to bench press and to pull up. Do you understand? And How you doing, Tish? How's everything, baby?
That's a mismatch of values. That's a mismatch of values.
So
That-
I need to know, because this is a problem for us.
Yes.
How do you maintain something like that on the left and maintain these vast visions without being impinged upon by lack of domestically? And are we making big mistakes by, as you said, falling in love, where you're going down for something that's only above, right? And is this what's causing a lot of frustration nowadays? Because we should all be able to prosper without somebody who is attached to us, ill affecting our aspirations for success in business. Because what do we value? Where should we be? I've got young people on the line, and how do they become the next entrepreneurs? And what are the impediments that they should stay away from until they at least are able to secure a financial base for themselves? How important is it for women to secure a financial base, or should women look to us as men for financial security for the rest of your lives?
You have to pick the right kind of person. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt Sister Joy, but one of the things that's important is who you are a partner with. That person will be with you 90% of the time, meaning either physically or just influentially on your thinking. So you do have to critically think about who you choose as a partner and evaluate them. You do want to have an alignment of values as much as you can, because that person will make or break your success. Who you're with, who you hang around with, who influences your thinking will determine how high or how low you go. So it is a critical choice. We've proven that we can do well and succeed, partly because the world makes it easy for women to succeed, sometimes over certain men. But you still have that ability to go to the environments and choose people out of the environments that you know are going to support your vision.
Right. Sister Joy?
I apologize, Sister Joy.
That's okay. So yes, we've seen it time and time again. We've seen it a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure if everybody's seen it, but there was this picture out there with Rihanna, and she has her husband or her mate with her, but she's in front. He's behind her, and of course, society jumps out there to say, this is wrong, and how can she be in front of him? Well, she just got done doing the Super Bowl. She just got done performing at the Super Bowl. So I think the optics of it all, people looked at it and automatically went to she thinks she's stronger than him. She thinks she's more powerful than him. And really, for me, that's not always true. Just because we're these dynamic women that we run these businesses, we're out there a lot, doesn't mean that we don't love our men, love our husbands, value our husbands, and admire even our husbands. So it's a balance that you do have to think about, and you do have to be very you have to make sure that you don't cross certain lines with that balance, because we know too that we can be a little boasty sometimes. Once you start scaling your business and you're rocking and rolling, and everybody's asking you questions, and maybe not him, at times, or leaning into you for information and not him. Sometimes we can stick out our chest a little bit too much. So I would say to the young people, one, yes, like Sister Letitia said, make sure that before you choose a mate, that you're choosing someone who understands who you are. That's very important, that you do have goals, you do have aspirations and dreams that you want to achieve. But
remember, you don't know who you are yet. We're growing, we're developing.
Yeah.
I'm evolving into myself, and now I realize that I am a budding entrepreneur from a female's perspective.
yes.
So now you start to grow into who you were put on the planet to be.
Yes.
How do you mitigate? We've covered the question, but to navigate and to keep things balanced whilst you grow, because most of the time, growth is growth for the family, if you will, is at your expense. The woman generally is the last one to grow, the last one to come into financial success in a family tree. So even if you look at inheritance laws always favor the male. So if you've got sons and daughters, the males will always believe I'm supposed to get more, right? So as successful women who have their own wealth, I just want to know, how do you intend to leverage this? I think you said it, Sister Letitia, earlier. You mentioned comparisons, and you were speaking to it, Sister Joy, that we need to know our space, know our lanes, right? So once there is a comparison, male, female, and the comparison is how much we've achieved as opposed to what our roles and responsibilities are, isn't that where the conflict lies?
Well, success leaves clues like habits. So very often, and this takes a lot of patience, but I can tell you from experience, if you just hold tight as a young person, right? Just hold tight and evaluate a person's actions and give them enough space and enough time to reveal their character, right? Because you can't hide anything for very long. So you're going to see patterns in how people act in a lot of their behaviors, in a lot of their past experiences. And so a lot of times when you start to uncover people's past, you'll find that, oh, they had a business when they were 10. Or,
right.
Oh, they started a service in high school for, young people. Or when they were in college, they had a business. And so as you're looking and evaluating real evidence about people, their characters, what are their past actions, you'll start to see a pattern. But you need to be objective, right? That means you have to pull back, and you can't be all in love and lovey-dovey and googly-eyed. But people reveal themselves over time, and it's almost an infallible thing where you can see someone's character come out because they do the same things over and over. But you do need to have the patience and be objective about what you're seeing. As a woman, I don't need to be CEO in my household.
Right.
I could do
Question
that.
for you.
Yeah.
Question for you. The law of business. So you're in business, your money, like $1 million is $1 million. $500,000 is $500,000. $250,000 is $250,000. One house is a house. An apartment is an apartment. Now, this is dealing with tangible reality, where from a relationship perspective, this is not dealing with the same type of mathematics. Profit and loss is profit and loss. But from a male, female, children, family perspective, it's a whole different dynamic. How can we learn being successful in business to upgrade and remove the emotions that really run and are at the root of relationships, if you will? Like, what is it about business that causes the businessman or woman to be a lot less emotional? And if you can scale a business, can't we then scale a family, scale a household? So tell me, what are the key principles that you can share with those in our audience, how they can use success in business to upgrade and to really to upgrade their domestic situation?
Well, conversation. So like in business, right? In order to grow, you have to study, you have to conversate, you have to, and I think in your relationship, it has to be a conversation. It has to be a conversation with your entire family, actually, in business, because we spend a lot of time in our businesses. So for your children to understand that, okay, I'm not going to be here for this event, but I will be there at the next event, or, you know, I'm going to be away from the house pretty much 9-10 hours a day. And then the same thing with your mate. I think it takes a lot of conversation, sitting down, achieving goals together, actually mapping it out, rewarding the family as well. You know, saying, hey, if we get this done, if I close these deals, do you know what it can do for us as a family? And I will reward you with something that's important to you. And if we don't learn to conversate, we don't learn to sit down and work through these issues, they will stay issues. Because as you said, it's something that we deal with, that women in business deal with on a daily basis. How do I make sure that everybody is happy in my household? And it does take for you to sit down and have long conversations.
Very good, because we focus on making people happy in the workplace, right?
Yes.
And we make people happy in the workplace and the business becomes progressive and, you know, much more successful. So, but we seem to have a total different reality when we get back home. That's like, that business is going into liquidation, right? It's going into foreclosure, right?
Yeah.
So, Letitia, I know you wanted to chime in on that, and I'm going to go to my co-host after this.
Two principles I've had to deal with throughout my time in business that I can transfer to any aspect of my life. So if you're choosing a partner, it's trust but verify. Trust the person, have open communication, give them the leeway to be and say who they are, and then verify. There is a way you can verify everything if you just give it that time and you have the patience to really evaluate who you're dealing with. So we trust, but we also verify. You got to proof up. It's incontrovertible. Like I can put that in any aspect of my life and it 100% applies. And the second thing is, you know, numbers don't lie. So having to be in a business, like you said, $1 million is $1 million. Like you can't fudge that. Happiness is happiness in your relationships and in your family life. And so you do have to be honest when that's not present. And it's very tough. But if you're looking at it honestly, and then you say, okay, I am not good at conflict. And so how can I get better at conflict and conflict resolution? Maybe I'm not great at communication. And I know that about myself, and I'm willing to be honest and vulnerable with my partner. I have a problem letting go of, some people have a problem letting go of control, you know, where that's a great thing in business, in relationships and family. You have to relinquish that so that the unit can thrive. And so being able to do that thing that we do in business, when we don't know something, we go and we develop that part of ourselves who can be better and who can improve. And just universally, that constant improvement, it never hurts anybody. And in fact, it makes life better for everybody around you when you are saying to yourself, you know what, I'm not good at this. Let me go and improve that. Let me talk to my partner to have some patience with me while I get better at this one aspect so I can be better for my family. So again, it starts with being able to have that realistic view of yourself and being open to your partner saying, this doesn't work for me, let's do something different. And having that collaboration to make that unit, that family unit better, because despite what we're told on TV and movies, and I'll get off my soapbox on this, but we're taught in TV and movies that women can do it all, that they should be independent, that if the man's not ready, you throw him to the side. And that is not how you evolve civilization. And that's not where you're going to get ultimate satisfaction and fulfillment, is by being an island. You have to have connections and family to really grow the way that we want to grow. So we have to reject those images being thrown at us about the independent, strong woman. No, get rid of that. Please, for the sake of everyone and the world, please get rid of that.
So to that point, you know, when we do vision board classes, and I do it for my team, I invite the whole entire family to vision board class. And you put together, yes, each individual business owner puts together their own vision board, but then they also do a vision board with their family, because it brings everybody together. As Sister Letitia said, it connects the dots. It gets everybody involved, and it also, you learn a lot as well about your family. So you're working on one goal all together.
Fantastic. We're talking about how to win as a woman in business. So Sister Tara, Sister Sylvina, I know you're chomping at the bit. So I hope you still got some teeth left. I know you're Would you like to speak to your sisters?
Most definitely.
This has been such a good conversation, and I'm glad that you did say, yes, we can do it all. We can juggle it all. It just takes conversation, or as Sister Joy said, conversate, which I know some people online do not like the word conversate, but yes. That word sometimes. It is possible, but yes, you do have to be able to communicate. You also have to know yourself, as Brother Abdul Hakim said. You have to know yourself, and you have to get to know your partner. So with that being said, we talked to the young people. Now let's talk to some of the older people in the crowd tonight. So if we have some older people who would like to start a business, maybe they're late to the party, but they're like, man, I don't want to have to work. I want to be free. What is some advice you could give to them?
So start, number one, with where you want to end up. Okay. Everybody doesn't necessarily have to have the same kind of business, right? And every business is not going to get you what you expect in terms of income or freedom of time or any of that stuff. So figure out what's most important to you. Is it that you want to retire and stop working? Is it that you want to have, reserves of X amount of dollars? And then find that end goal. And once you figure out that end goal, explore. Look at some other ways and different methods to get you to that end goal. But the first thing is to be able to say, okay, what is it I really want? And then two, what am I willing to develop to be able to get this business? Technology right now is the biggest and best lever that you have. Even as an older person, if you can just sit down in front of a computer and get on, like we use Coursera or Udemy, but you probably have the same thing overseas. Those are almost free or super low cost courses of how to be able to learn digital marketing or learn how to advertise on social media, Google Ads, Facebook. And those classes cost like $12 or something ridiculously low. So if you're older starting out, please understand technology can be that lever. Specifically, the internet can be that lever that will propel you much faster when you're trying to get into business than anything else. So even if you're really not that great, but you've got a huge lever, you can lift and do a tremendous amount. So figure out where you want, figure out what you need to learn to be able to get to that, and who needs to come with you. None of us nobody can say that they've ever done anything completely by themselves. If they do, they have a very minimal amount of success. So how good are you with dealing with people, delegating, coaching, helping other people grow, utilizing other resources that you don't have the skills in? How do you utilize other people? So in this fast age of technology, it doesn't matter how old you are, nothing is impossible. Because I know people that get on TikTok with, a restaurant that's barely doing anything, and within 30 days, they're like, 30–40% higher in revenue. So you've got a lot of tools at your disposal now. Get a young person to coach you and tell you what you need to do to get you to do that. Because they know everything, and they're like fast thinkers. They can do it in 2 seconds.
Listen, that's what happened with Tabitha Brown. Her daughter told her to go on to TikTok and review that sandwich. Look at Tabitha Brown now.
And isn't that the problem, though? Isn't that the problem, sisters? The problem is that when we're, mature, I would say, when we're mature and we've been through some of life's battles, okay, and we're elders, if you will, isn't the problem why many elder people fail in business that they're trying to be young, as opposed to accepting who they are and playing their position? Like you just mentioned,
if in business, it's younger old thing.
You just mentioned, okay, like if you miss the technology age, you might not have time to learn how to be a coder at 55, at 60, at 65. So how humble are you to be able to say to a grandchild or to a teenage member of your family, can you help me with this? Now, isn't that going into business? Isn't that showing real leadership? And isn't that our problem, that we're struggling to really start a business based upon what we have acquired in experience up until that point?
Well, that's a service business. And a lot of times you can do a service business, but only as long as you're able to roll yourself out of the bed. And so at some point or another, if you don't want to be one of those 85-year-old people who are at the supermarkets greeting people at the door, meaning you have to pull yourself out every day and work, then it behooves you. It should massively motivate you to learn something different that you can do so that you're not working forever. Because I know 82-year-olds who, are barely surviving because they didn't set themselves up to be able to extricate themselves from manual labor or even service labor if you're self-employed. And now they've got to work into their 80s, right? And that's the thing that you don't want. So if that is any motivation at all, that hopefully will be scarier than asking a young person how to work Instagram or TikTok, right?
Right, exactly.
That's a small, ego hit, but
Right.
89 years old, you're still trying to work for a living or provide service or something. You don't want that. Like that's not the way to go. So it just depends on what's scarier to you,
Right.
And then there's businesses that for older people that don't require as much of the social media platforms. I went to a business meeting last night, and it was this beautiful sister that has a cheesecake business. And her cheesecake business is really booming. So it got into Walmart. One of the ways that it got into Walmart is because she just went and got certified as a business. See, people forget to tell you that you can get in these big box stores and it doesn't take social media. It takes simply going to get certified and then going into the company, applying to get your product inside the company, and then just basically waiting for your interview. And with you being certified, you're certified in governmental, Black business owner, you're certified in all of these different certifications, and they simply will put your product in the store. Then you go to the next store. There's a sister right now that I met at the same meeting last night, and she has a facial product. And Saturday is the Grammys. Well, her facial product is going to be in that bag that they give out at the Grammys.
Wow.
It's simply started by her getting her product in Walmart and Target. And that's how she achieved that goal.
And interestingly, I was speaking to somebody today. And what they did in order for them to grow their business, they bought every shop that was available near a Walmart in the US. So wherever there was a Walmart, they would buy a shop or lease it next door or on the same strip. And
did you know that majority of the products that's in some of these stores, Kroger, Walmart, that they're third-party products?
Right, exactly.
They are third-party products.
Right.
So you can, just say for instance, Pioneer Sugar, and then there's Kroger Sugar, right? Well, Pioneer Sugar is a third-party product. So if you taste it, it probably will taste the same as the Kroger sugar because they're getting it from the same manufacturer.
Right.
So our products can get into all of these stores, and a lot of elderly people, that's the route that they take. They find a product, they get certified, and then they go for the local stores. You start with your local stores first, and then you move into the big box stores.
Question just come to mind before I bring you in, Silvina, is many of our elders, like my mother, she was an amazing cook. Like, she doesn't cook so much anymore, but her ability to cook was just crazy. Her ability to bake, crazy. Her ability to make punches like ginger beer and this juice and that juice, and just crazy. How many of us are missing these tricks and allowing our parents to die with all of this knowledge in them that we could extract from them and produce and market? How many of us are missing these great opportunities?
So many.
A lot of us.
I mean, it's from the lack of knowledge, right? Because
isn't this? I'm gonna let you answer. But isn't this more where many women are missing out? Because women are not extracting from their mothers the experience of living for 70, 80, 90 years. Some women are in conflict with their mothers, even though they're going into the ground, right? So this female dynamic where there's always these conflicts, doesn't it rob us of the ability to extract the value of, even if I don't like your way, there's something I can learn from your madness. You see what I mean? And I can document it in a respectful way. So how much revenue is being lost by not mining out these treasures that are going down into the earth?
I mean, you're talking about a complete mindset change, because I remember as a grade school student, we had to interview our grandmothers about home remedies. And so I went to my grandmother and just asked her some of the, like home remedies that she knows about how to cure different things, like maybe a cold or something like that. I left with over 100. So that includes, pimples, boils, foot aches, back aches, how to grow your hair, how to, like just amazing things that I never knew about my grandmother. And we're sometimes so involved in survival mode that we don't think in terms of, oh, that recipe, that special dish, that special product, that is marketable and that is valuable. And even if you don't necessarily have $1 million line from it, you can make a ton of money from it because someone is craving that same taste. And so one of the things that's robbed a lot of times from communities is the knowledge of business, the science of business. And once you understand that, you start to shift and look at everything like, oh, okay, you know what? What is the process for creating a product? What are the stages for developing a business? What's the cycle of it? Because it's going to begin, it's going to have a peak, and it will end. And so once you attune your mind to those kinds of things, it's easier for creative things to pop out and then become tangible products. But there is a process of learning those steps when you're creating a product, and how to market it, how to position it, how to distribute it on a mass scale. And so if that is the interest, and even if it's not the interest, if we just got together and start pooling those kinds of, recipes or things that we know we can't always save forever because we don't live forever, that can turn into something that is going to be valuable.
Because this is how encyclopedias are made, right? Where we gather the full body of information and we put it in a document known as an encyclopedia. And many people don't know that after we emerged from the transatlantic slave trade, the most successful Black male business was a barber, a groomer. So the barber was the man who others used to go to loan money, because everybody went to the barber. So even the wicked slave master would go to the Black barber to get groomed, to go to the auction to buy, ancestors, right? So he was the wealthiest man in the community, okay? So grooming and keeping yourself well. And again, how do we, because that's for you as women, but we as men also can extract a wealth of experience from our fathers. And if we balance these two, then we would have everything we need to go forward. So just before I bring yourself in, Sister Sylvian, I was going to leave us with a principle, or share a principle. I was reading about the first man who climbed Mount Everest, but they don't know whether he was the first, because he died either going up or coming down. So he was never able to tell the story. And I don't know if you know, but Mount Everest is just littered with dead bodies, right? And debris. Because once you die on Mount Everest, you stay there. People don't bring you down. It's too dangerous to bring a body down Mount Everest. One of the principles of this first dude, his name escapes me at the moment, who they have not verified whether he was the first one, more so than Mr. Hillary, who climbed it, was he said, they asked him a question, so what inspired you to climb Mount Everest? And his answer was, because it's there. Because it's there and I can see it, I want to climb it. So it wasn't nothing other than just, it's there. Mm-hmm. So again, how much is in front of us that we're not taking advantage of, and we're looking in areas where really there is nothing, where we have to be creative, where if we just take advantage of what's in front of us, we can automatically start winning in business. So I want you to address that point before we close. But Sylvina, you wanted to ask a few questions before we close?
Yes, I did. Thank you for what you shared so far. So many practical principles we can apply. But earlier we mentioned failure, and Sister Letitia, although you both, of course, can contribute to this, you mentioned that, getting failure out of the way and, moving on so that you can then continue to develop and build. And I wanted to know how you defined failure, and is there something to pay attention to? Can failure sometimes equate to misalignment where you need to pivot? Or is failure always something that you need to overcome in order to bring out the qualities that you need to be successful?
So there's two things with that. One thing I learned very early on is there's never such a thing as 0% failure, right? That would have meant you did absolutely nothing to get 0. It's usually, here's the target, maybe you're 30% to it, maybe you're 40% to it. And so if you just get it in your mind that you're not going to always succeed 100% to everything that you do, always, right? Then you don't have that defeat that feeling of like dejection when you fail or when you don't necessarily hit the target. In fact,
Right.
you're starting out, usually you're really, really bad at something, right? Like when you're starting out, you're usually really, really bad. So just do it a lot and get over being bad. Like just keep at it, I hate to use this language, but just keep being terrible until you're not, right? And just be comfortable with being terrible. Rappers do it all the time. They're like horrible in the beginning, right? And they just keep rapping and rapping, and then they get really great, right? It seems like it's overnight, but it's not. Just get comfortable with being bad and people saying no. Like I love when people say no to me now, right? That used to be a huge fear point. But when they say no, I'm like, now we're finally having a conversation. Like we weren't really talking before. And now you said no. And until you hang up on me, we are technically still having a conversation. So it's like a something that you're looking for, not necessarily getting it 100% out of the park. You're eager to go to that because again, it crunches the learning curve and it gets you moving. And all you need is at bats, right? It's just percentages of times you go up to make the pitch or you make the sale, the prospect to sale. That's it. You just need a bunch of times where you're going up to make the deal. Whether or not someone says yes has nothing to do with you. How many times you go to get that has everything to do with you. So just be comfortable like really being bad for a long time. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're excellent at it. And it seems like it's overnight, but it's really just you failing a lot. And so don't be, especially entrepreneurs, like you'll find when you look at the lives of entrepreneurs, they had total and complete failures in their businesses multiple times before they hit that one idea. They just never gave up. So just get comfortable with saying to yourself, failure is part of this process and I'm going to keep moving because I'm better than I was before. I did better this time than I did last time. I was 67% and now I'm 82%, and just get comfortable with doing that until you hit where you want to be, until you get that, that thing that says, oh, now we are having success. We're seeing the income. We're seeing whatever we want to see from our efforts.
Thank you. And was my second question just following, which was linked to what I just asked you both. With regards to this missed target, you mentioned entrepreneurs failing, and sometimes they go in a complete different direction. They start off, in the flower industry, and they end up, in the car industry, and that's where they reach their success. But so I wanted to know, have you, from your experiences, have you noticed any trends with regards to when is it just time to pivot and tweak, and go back out to that same target, or when is it time to actually pivot and go in maybe a completely different direction, but take a different route as a part of evaluating this failure? Now you've defined it, this failure.
Sister Joy could probably answer this question better, but I have a very common sense approach to life and most things. But when you don't like what you're doing and people don't like what you're doing, it's not beneficial to anybody either way. You know what? You might not want to do that. Like, stop that. You might not be doing it for the right reasons or the right motivation. But when you don't get a kick out of it and nobody else is benefiting from it, that might be the thing. Other than that, it just may be skill level development. It just may be finesse. It just may be targeting the right kind of people, being in the right market. So when you don't like it and the public doesn't like it, you get no support, then you got to evaluate. But that's a small percentage, I think, of what we'll face.
Right. Thank you.
I think that knowing when to pivot is it's kind of up in the air, because you can be on that 99th time of trying to do something, and then you're failing, and then that 100th time it starts to work out right, and you're like, oh, that's what I was supposed to do. So I say, if you love it, keep going. keep going. Now you might pick up different things on the way, you know, and you might pivot to the right and say, okay, after I perfect this business, I'm going to now start selling roses or flowers or something like that, because I've picked it up on the way. I've learned to love it. There's people out there looking for someone who can do this, but I just when it comes time to pivot, just make sure that that's really what you want to do. Don't stop because you're failing. Keep going.
So let me ask you this. In regards to 2 points, in regards to sounding boards, because most of us have really good ideas at times, and as men, generally, we can go to men or others who we know in business and sound off and get some decent feedback. As women, sometimes, because very seldomly do many men who have good business ideas actually go to women for advice on a business idea. Right, let's be real. Men go to men to discuss business ideas, right? So as a woman, do most of you go to men to discuss your ideas, or do you go to other women to discuss your ideas?
Well, wait a minute, because if you look behind me, you'll see that there's men, there's brothers in my organization back here.
Right.
There's men. So they
but when you get an epiphany, right? Like, you want to do something, it's just come to mind and you see it like this is a game changer. Who is the first one you share it with? What's your confidence level like in other women to sound off in the first instance? Is it usually a woman who you sound off to, or is it usually a man who you sound off to when you first get the idea?
When you first get the idea, you say.
Yes.
Okay. So when you first get the idea, I go to who has the most knowledge.
But the reason why I'm asking the question, is it because we choose the wrong person to sound off on? And that's the reason why most of our ideas never see the light of day?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So for me, yes, it's getting my sisters on the phone. It's saying, hey, I got this idea. What do you think about it? It's going to, it's right. For me, it's so personal. When I birth a new idea, it's very personal. I kind of sit down and I work through it, and my mind is going. And it takes me a while before I do talk about this idea to a person, because people can be very critical.
Right. But as a woman in business, are you more likely to get support in that gestation period from a female or from a male? And this is to our sisters who are listening, who want to get into business, but have never been able to get past that hurdle. Is it because they're sounding off to the wrong people? And I'm wondering if women should speak more to women when they're, as you used the wonderful term, birthing new ideas. And as they're going through the gestation period, should they share such a fragile, thought with someone who's a bit more feminine than someone who walks around with a sledgehammer and going to approach something sensitive, with a baseball bat? So just for clarity, I just wanted my sisters to know some of the areas that these ideas or these ambitions are aborted, where it actually starts, and I just want to hear from both of you two in business. How important is it to share your idea in its seminal stage with the right person? And is that person more male, or should it be more male if you're a woman, or should it be more female as a woman, or an amalgamation of the two?
Well, for me, I have a woman that's a coach. So my coach is a woman.
Right.
And it was very important for her to be a woman when I chose her.
Right.
Because she's a Black woman at that.
Right.
So she looks like me. And I don't know about with Sister Letitia, but in real estate, it's very difficult to grow and scale your business to a really, really big, large business, and being a woman and a Black woman. So I needed somebody who looked just like me to go to and to birth my idea. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. And how do we get there? So for me, yes, it had to be a woman, because she knew all of the hurdles, all of the trials, the consequences, because sometimes we pay as well for being very intelligent, aggressive sometimes, because in the business, you have to be a little bit aggressive sometimes, Black women. So for me, yes, it was a woman that I went to.
And you would advise others to follow suit?
Yes, I would say so in the very beginning, because you need to, go ahead, Letitia.
I have a slightly different perspective.
Okay.
So I agree. I know Sister Joy's coach. She's incredible. She's right? So that's an example of a woman who you could go to, who doesn't have jealousy, who's not envious of you, who doesn't have those ill feelings, because that's her job. Like literally, that's her life's purpose. She's a coach. And so it doesn't matter who you go to, you need to be careful about exposing the ideas. So I have a mentor that taught me, whenever you have an idea, write it down. Keep it in a computer file, keep it in a notebook, because that's your goal. Like that is untold wealth, is your ideas. And so you always keep those written down. And I think it's the capturing of it and maybe fleshing it out a little bit that allows it to germinate, because it might not be the time, but you have that now so you can revisit it later. And if you do goal setting every month or weekly or yearly, you can go back and look at that and say, oh, that's an excellent idea, but now's the right time to do it. And I've got more resources. Let me pick that idea back up. But number one, don't expose the idea before you capture it for yourself. Capture your own ideas, right? Flesh them out just generally, right? You can type it in a phone. I have literally a list that says brilliant ideas. It goes on and on and on. But when I need inspiration, I can go back and look at that and go, oh, that was incredible. Like, what was I on that day? I was, firing on all cylinders.
How many shots of coffee did you have?
Right. Like, what was happening? This is a good. So,
was that a fasting weekend?
It must have been, right? So capture that. That is your goal. Those are value. Those are things that are sent to you from a higher source that really are going to get you where you want to go. So capture it.
Right.
Second thing is you should go with people who are in that industry or that business. And I saw one of the participants in our chat, Nordia. So it depends on the idea and the industry, because you shouldn't expose ideas to people who don't have a background to evaluate it. Meaning they can give you their opinion, but it may be a qualified opinion, and it could discourage you without really that being the person who's best qualified to evaluate the idea.
Right.
You expose it.
Right. So our time is spent now, and I want to ask one more question. I want to ask you both one more question. Like time has just flown, but in regards to, I just want to close that point out. So just on the surface, then, would you say, young women in business and preparing themselves to win in business, okay, should they come together more in a huddle amongst themselves? And then if there's going to be males present when they're sharing these ideas, these should be males who they know are void of some of these characteristics, like you mentioned, envy and jealousy and all of this kind of stuff. Because the motivation of asking the question is, I'm wondering whether, when you bring an idea of a business and somebody does possess these nasty characteristics, or they might just be a hater, right? They might just be narcissistic, right? Now, in being just, and they might not know that they are just vision and dream killers, right? But if the person is fragile, then they may throw, as you said, that valuable idea away because they may respect this individual. Just like back in the day, we used to write business plans and we used to go to the bank with our business plan, and then the business manager would reject us, wouldn't give us the loan, but he would have a copy of the business plan and give it to his friend and then fund his friend. So you would go to the bank and then you would need to raise some capital to buy a property, okay? The bank was saying, we've rejected your application for a bridging loan. And now they know that that property is available, right? So the person who does have the cash, or the person who they are willing to loan the money to, you will find that that person will pip you at the post. So I say all of that to say, you know, business creation, business building is a very fragile, sensitive thing. So getting your team right, where you just share ideas, having that close group of individuals who are trustworthy, to me is tantamount to running a successful business. Because if you can't sound off, and you said it beautifully in regards to hold it, don't even share it with nobody, hold it and develop it yourself to a particular point, you know, and once you've developed it to a particular point, because if a higher force gave you the fort, then that higher force wants you to have the manifestation of the fort. So therefore, it's to have trust in the giver of the fort to give you more, so that the fort becomes an idea and morphs into a plan, then into a vision, right? And then we can bring the necessary persons in to execute the various parts, because sometimes we share the whole plan with people who can only play a small part.
Absolutely.
Are you following me? So I don't need to tell you all of my business if all you do is just lay bricks. I don't need to discuss electrical work with you. I don't need to discuss glazing with you. I don't need to discuss landscape with you. Why? Because you're a bricklayer. Okay? so it's very simple. So I just wanted to expound on that a bit and just ask you a last question before we conclude, which is, what businesses would you advise women to look carefully at during this time? Because if we're saying, okay, all women should go into business, or the vast majority should be in business in some way, shape, or form, and they should win in business, what businesses would you recommend women to go into, particularly those who are not in business, as a segue into, you know, much more complex and lucrative areas?
I would say, to your earlier point, always have a mastermind group. It can be one or two people, but if you have a mastermind group, it feels, what it does is it fulfills that need to express things, to have a safe space, to deal with challenges, have a safe space to deal with accomplishments. Because sometimes people don't want to hear that you just closed this huge deal, right? So you need a mastermind group. You need a mentor for sure, but get a mastermind group, because mastermind group is peer-to-peer. And you're like, all we're doing is just sharing what works or where we may be having trouble. And it relieves that pressure on your brain and the isolation from trying to just do this on your own. Because sometimes as a business owner, entrepreneur, you're by yourself. So get a mastermind group, get a mentor for sure. And then look at the businesses that you just naturally do well. As women, we have an extraordinary way with people. So you can leverage some of the natural things that we have as women to be successful in business, our eye for particular details, our expansiveness in conversation and communication, how well we care for people. So you can use those. What used to be a detriment to a woman in business is now, given the level of equality, it's a help to us. So don't take the qualities and characteristics that you have as a woman and put those down. Use those to be able to go into something that will help you really fully manifest them.
Fantastic, fabulous. Sister Joy?
I concur. Make sure that whatever business you're going into, that you love it first and foremost. And if it's a product-based business, we as women, we use so many different products, and it can develop into a strong business for you because you know a lot of women, and also you use the product. For me, when it comes to handbags, what women do not love handbags? So that was one of my choices, and I have to say it was a very good choice. And just make sure that you're putting your all into your business. Make sure that you breathing your business, and it's your baby. It's your baby. Love it. Talk about it. Work it.
Yeah.
And you'll be very successful.
Very good. So just lastly, and man, I'm 10 minutes over time and I should close. I just want to ask you one question in regards to internationalizing what you already do. Do you have any plans afoot to expand what you're doing in the United States of America throughout the world and globalize your products and your goods and services?
Absolutely. So in both of my businesses, so with my real estate business, we teach and train people from all over the world. I have a couple of real estate agents that are in Canada. And so we're on a Zoom consistently. Sometimes I'm over there going over to see exactly what they're doing as well, or to teach and train there. And then in the handbag business, yes, of course, it has to be all over the entire world. And I'm excited about it, reaching corner to corner, because I believe the world is ours.
Are you taking on investors?
Well, as we scale, then of course it might be something that we decide that we're going to do.
Sure, absolutely. I have your number. That's one of the perks of this wonderful job that we created.
Absolutely. First class charter.
So this Sister Letitia, I've known your great work in the US. And what's the plans of buying your first, or do you already have projects outside of the US? And if not, do you have plans to expand outside of the US?
Well, here's the thing. I think that I'm getting to the teaching and training portion of being in this business. Transactions are great.
Yeah.
But most people, if you live in another country, you really are going to get the best bang for your buck buying in America right now, right? But there are certain principles to investing and certain principles to people, whether they are buying their own home or they're buying investment property, that I feel like I could probably help. So having a product, having a training ebook, something that can go all around the world, I think would probably help people a lot more, because I can only take so many calls and close so many deals, right? But everybody can benefit from knowing how these investment firms and these equity companies work and the principles that they use to evaluate and how objective they are when they're looking at something to invest in. And so I feel like that's where my next path will lead me, and I'll keep you updated with that kind of training as it comes out.
Fantastic. We look forward to having you back on to discuss, what you just mentioned to us being fleshed out.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a delight having both of you on to this evening here in the UK and throughout the Caribbean, Africa, Europe. It's been a delight. I've really enjoyed myself, and time is just,
That's so fast.
Right. Well,
that was super quick. And, it's just such a blessing. I've really enjoyed both of you. And those of you who are listening in our audience, did you enjoy our special guest this evening?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely
So,
fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
we must do a part two. We must do a
Right.
part
Yeah, thank you, brother.
two.
Thank
We
you.
look forward
That's been great.
and we had you, we were blessed to host you, Sister Letitia, when you came over. You spoke publicly one of the Sundays at our meeting, and it was great. So we look forward to hosting you again next time you're in Europe, and we can have a discussion on your property.
Hey, don't try to take her away from us.
Oh man, like
We love her so. We love her.
they have
so much.
something. They have something in, because I watch soccer here, Joy, and with soccer, twice a year they have what's known as the transfer market, and where the market opens up and you get an opportunity to bring in the best talent, you know, from different parts. And I'm into headhunting talent. So, enjoy her while she's amongst you.
Compelling. They took such good care of us. My son was only 17 at the
Hello?
time. And he
Wow.
wanted to
Say
stay
that
there.
again, sorry. You were saying something? Say that again, sorry. I missed it. I didn't hear.
Such good care of me that my
Okay.
son told me to leave him there, that the brothers and sisters would take care of him. He was only 17. He said, leave me. I love this place. So it's compelling.
So, Sister Joy, can you compete with that? Because we're up for a rumble in the jungle, you know.
Every week I
So
have
good.
coffee, Letitia. She loves coffee. So I have coffee.
Do you have Blue Mountain coffee from the Caribbean? Oh, praise God. So look, thank you. We look forward to part two. And we pray that whatever you're doing in the business sense, that it flies and it flourishes. And you have a market outside of the US, obviously, that we've just opened up for you to just take a peek in. And we are interested in what you're doing. So when we meet again, we'll discuss how we can get involved in what you're doing. Okay. And I've got somebody in the chat, you know, who wants to know the name of your handbag company, because she's trying to get there before me. So, you know, we're never going to answer that question, Samantha. What are you trying to do?
It's called the
What you
Joi
trying to
Taylor
do? I
Collection.
see you. So you better give your number to Sister Sylvina or Sister Tara, and we'll get back to you.
Yes. So another thing, please make sure that you continue to watch my social media. We are getting ready to launch. We are getting ready to launch a really big launch, April the 27th. And my website will be up, and we are super duper excited. We're going to have a wonderful time at the launch too. We're going to stream it live. And yeah, it's going to be a blast. You'll get to see all of the pretty colors. You'll get to see some of our past customers coming in the building, and then you'll get to see our new bag coming out, and it's called the Joi Taylor Collection.
So what is your social media handle, Sister Joy, that we can direct those on the line to?
So I have a few of them. It's the Joi Taylor Collection. All Things That Creates Joy is the second one on Facebook.
Nice.
And we have on Instagram, it's the Joi Taylor Collection again. So that's where I am.
Fantastic. And we have Sister Letitia's handle or email address. So you can, is that an email address, Sister, or is that a website?
that's the initial website for people that want to contact me about investing. And then if you just have questions, because for any of the shows that I'm on, I always tell people, just ask questions.
Right.
Like, they're free. As much as I can answer them, I'll definitely try. So I just put my email in there in case people have questions about getting going. I saw some financing questions in the chat. So if you do have questions, please feel free to email me. I might not be able to get back to you right away, but I love budding business owners. I want to help out in any way I can.
Fantastic. See, those of you who came on, look how blessed you've been. You know, we blessed you today.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You
Thank
didn't
you.
have to go to church. You came here for your baptism.
That's right.
So with that said, we're going to thank you both, Sister Sylvina, Sister Tara. Any closing remarks before we conclude?
Just for us to remember, thank you again, sisters. Thank you so much.
Thank
Just to remember again, for those on the line, this is a journey, okay? We're into a new series. Now, although you've gained major principles today that I hope that you meditate on and, you know, flesh out, remember that we're back next week and the week after that and the week after that to build upon the foundation that we've laid today. So do yourself a service and be on this journey with us. That's all.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Tara.
Thank you all for joining us. You know, I enjoyed myself. I know you all did too. We got sisters doing it big. Listen, I can't, you know, I'm excited. Okay, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Thank you all for coming on. We will see you again next week. Have a good weekend ahead, and peace and blessings.
Do you enjoy our content? Well, make sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you won't miss an episode.